what's it called?
Advance.
USA knife maker.
One of those places, and so I can just like remake all the parts, and that way I kind of have
Oh,
an idea of like how everything goes together. So that's my wintertime project, is to learn how to make a liner lock by just kind of remaking all that stuff.
see, I'm not
Nice.
a
I think.
huge fan of liner locks, though.
Is this a podcast?
It
Yeah,
is
I
now.
started.
It's a
I
podcast all of a sudden.
I feel like Brian House is always saying, if you want to make $1 million, you got to solve a problem. And I feel like a problem that could be solved, and maybe I'm an idiot for saying this on the show, but is that there isn't a concise, singular piece of reference material on making knives. Do you know what I mean? There's not a step by step book that goes through for the beginning knife maker and shows them this is how you do it. These are the little nuances and grinding. You know what I mean? And it, like, even to the point where it could break down folders and things like that. That, like, guys have written books, but I haven't found a single book that covers everything. Like Lawrence Thomas's book, Knife Engineering. Everybody's got that one. That's a perfect example because that book goes through every steel that we're probably ever going to use and how to heat treat it. You know what I mean? So if they added that book in with the book on the processes, does that make
Yeah, but
sense, or am I just
I,
stoned?
I mean, I think
Well, I
it's
don't
as
doubt that you're
simple.
stoned, but I think you're. I mean, I don't know. Do people read anymore?
A YouTube.
I read. I collect reference material. I got books and books and books on cars, dirt bikes, chainsaws, everything you can imagine.
I guess though, like it's too easy to go to like New Jersey Steel Baron and uh, just find the heat treat information there. You know what I mean? Like it's just that readily available. Like I guess I don't need a book. I mean, I guess if I had a book, I wouldn't have to open up the PDF every time. But it's not like it's hard to get your hands on that kind of thing. I guess.
But that book would just that part would just be one singular part of the book. And the book itself would be almost like a Bible of knife making, where it would have, if you wanted to know how to grind a diamond grind, because we talk about diamond grinds a lot, there'll be a section in there on the processes of doing a diamond grind, or a Scandi grind, or a flat grind, or a hollow grind, or a compound grind, or a tracker, you know what I mean? A friction folder, a spring assisted folder, everything would be covered in one place.
Well, Ryan, since you're not busy at all, I think you've just found out that this is what you're going to have to be doing.
Yeah, Ryan's got
Yeah.
nothing else to do.
So, do we want to like? I realize
Play
we're
an intro.
recording. Let's play an intro. Let's
Let's
send it.
let's get the ball rolling. I hit record because on every show we're having like good content before we start, and I'm like, oh fuck. So like, yeah. Anyway,
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustle and Grind podcast. We are 3 minutes and 45 seconds in, and we are just now getting to talk to all of you lovely people. You just caught a little glimpse of what goes on before the show. Like Ryan was saying, we like to just spitball and come up with random ideas all the time. And let's face it, that's pretty much what this show is anyways. But this is a podcast for knife makers, for knife enthusiasts, for makers of all kinds to come and commiserate about all the lovely, horrible, and interesting things that happen in this craft and others. I'm Noah Bloomberg of Entiat River Forge. With me, as always, is Ryan Coakley from Ryan Chadbourne Knife Works. Our guest
hello.
today is Jeremy from 419forging. Everybody say welcome, Jeremy.
What's up, everybody?
Ball in the house.
So, on this show, we like to talk lots of random things. We know Jeremy, at least I do. Ryan knows Jeremy a little bit. So a lot of you listeners probably do as well. I think to start this week's episode off, we should do a classic podcast trope. And Jeremy, how's your week, man? What's been going on in your shop? What's been going on in your life? Are you ready for Christmas?
No, well, so this my week in the shop has been a little slow because I've been in class. But I finally journeyed out in my apprenticeship for Carpenters Union. So
Woo!
yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm glad
That's
to
a
be
big
done.
step, right?
Yeah, I'm. It's a 4-year deal, and you're supposed to have class every 6 months. And between COVID and just you know stuff gets canceled and classes get canceled and stuff, so you gotta like reschedule and everything. So I took 3 classes this month. So I had 3 weeks of class this month, but I'm done now.
Nice.
Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. So, in the time
Thanks.
that you were in your shop, what were you working on?
Um, well, so I decided that since this week was going to be a short week, I'd try to do something that I wanted to do because I don't really have time to make like what I want. So I did this Damascus. Well, it's a random pattern, low layer, and then I did a segmented handle with koa, bog oak, and some white liners. Turned out pretty darn nice.
Yeah, that's a nice little hunter. About what a 4-inch blade on it.
Yeah, yeah, a little bigger than what I usually make. Usually I'm around 3, I'd say, on most of my knives, but I wanted to make like a hunter, something a little bigger, a little thicker. Uh, it ended up being a little thinner than I'd like, but it turned out good. I'm happy with it.
Nice. And is that your first time doing segmented scales?
It's the second set that I've ever made. The first one's broke. I don't know. I just picked them up out of the drawer one day and it fell apart. So this time I decided to put a liner, like a backer on it. And
Mm,
so far that seemed to have helped out. Like, I don't know, just holds it together better. You got more surface area with the glue and everything.
for sure. And are you using your standard epoxy that you would normally use to hold those all together?
Yeah, just using the CEC Corp epoxy
Hmm.
from Maritime.
I used a lot of that yesterday, man. That's good stuff. Yeah, I've heard of people putting together like spacer packs and some of the other stuff just together with like CA glue and stuff. Um, I'm not a big fan of the thought of that just because like everything that I put on a knife, I want it to last, So I'm going to use that, the same high quality epoxy for everything. If I'm gluing liners onto scales, I might use 5-minute epoxy versus like a 30-minute or a 24-hour epoxy. But it's still, I mean, it's either G Flex or it's CEC, so it's always solid epoxy that I know and trust. It's not CA glue, for holding handle components together.
I found
Recently,
CA glue has a higher tolerance to temperature than epoxy.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, like I don't know if that's a fact or not, but it seems that way when I'm grinding it. Like I don't know if you saw the reel I posted like a month or two ago of a piece of micarta glued to a piece of brass that I was making a guard out of.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was C Corp super thick CA glue.
Really? Wow, that's
And
impressive.
you know how when you're doing off density materials, like the metal will heat up faster than the micarta or whatever. So they'll separate. I didn't have any separation with the CA glue.
Well, that's especially true when you're using like brass or copper or something like that. I don't have a whole lot of experience, but I've heard that a lot from people.
Oh, it's a pain in the ass. It's why I don't do metal pins anymore.
see, that's the reason I don't use G10 pins anymore. It's because I burn them every single time.
I love my micarta pins. I love them. 1/4 inch. They're strong. The glue soaks into them and adheres to them really well, and they look good.
They do look good. Yeah, I usually use 1/8 inch, so you can't, even if it is micarta, you can't really see the grain of it too much. But I love those the 1/4 inch, sorry, the 1/8 inch G10 pin stock. And what thickness are you using, Jeremy, to where you're seeing it burn?
Usually I'm running an eighth, and I don't know
Really?
what it
And they
is.
burn?
Oh yeah. I tried to do uh, like a 4-pin configuration, and every single one of them burned. The kitchen knife that I raffled off, the Travis Haynes one, those
Hmm.
G10 pins burned as well. So I just said, screw it, I'm not using them anymore.
I've had them burn. Um, the fiberglass based G10 ones. they'll turn like black on the end, and you have to hand sand the black off.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. I have had that happen on occasion. You're right. Okay, I have had that happen, but in my mind, I'd rather just go a little slower, use a little sharper belt than deal with stainless pins because I've never used brass or copper. I just don't like the look of it. So I've always either used stainless or G10 or micarta. So
I get proud pins when I use stainless pins.
yeah, got to be careful for sure.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, and I have. I just finished up. Well, not finished up, but I was working on a knife yesterday that I had to use stainless because I was making it to go in a set. And the customer has 3 of my other knives that I'm making to go into this set, and they all have stainless pins. So I was like, I got to use stainless. Oh man, but as long as you come off the grinder at a high enough grit, you don't have to worry about it too much. If you're doing a ton of hand sanding after the fact, you're going to end up with those proud pins just because the hand sanding, whether you're using a soft backing on a sanding stick or you're using your thumb, it's going to go in around that pin and it's going to take off a lot of that extra material.
Yeah, I usually end up having to fix them with like a tiny diamond file. Like I'll go in and just right off the top of the pin
That's a
until
great,
until
that's a
I
great
can't
method.
feel it anymore. Yeah, it's time consuming. It pisses me off.
Where do you
Yeah,
get
see, I don't
diamond
have that
files?
kind of, what's that?
Where do you get diamond files?
I
Anywhere.
got mine from Maritime Knife Supply.
That's a great spot to get them from.
Because right now I'm just using like the Hobo Freight. They're little like for filing guards and stuff. They're a little pack of small ones. They kind of suck.
How many
I
of
like
them have
that.
you broken?
No, one.
Yeah, see, I've tried to use those files in the past, and I have broken almost every single one of them.
I break them, I bend them, but it's okay. Those like not diamond files, the traditional bastard cut files or whatever they're called. They're almost like disposable, So like I'll grind off 2 sides of it so it won't. So you only have abrasive on a corner. You know what I mean? If I want to do a
Mm-hmm.
corner on a guard, and stuff like that. The diamond files, they seem to last a lot longer.
They work okay on like my Carta or G10 because I do
Oh yeah.
G10 guards.
Oh yeah.
I have to get me some of those.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
They're
All
not
right, so we heard about Jeremy's week. Ryan, what has your week been like? Sorry to cut you off there, man.
crazy. Still crazy. Yep.
Still working on that batch of 50?
I got total at 64
Jeez.
because I have 14 customs in with it. And the customs are what's taking all the time. It's, I mean, having one-offs, every knife be a one-off is a lot more time consuming than banging out 50 that are exactly the same.
Of course.
Do you have a heat
And
treat oven?
yeah,
How many knives can you temper in there at one time?
6. See it
Yeah,
right
it
there?
could take a while.
My homemade one. Yeah, no, if these orders are supposed to be a reoccurring thing, and if it becomes a reoccurring thing, I'm going to either buy a big oven or build a bigger oven so I can heat treat more than 6 at a time.
Or just have multiple. Because if you had multiple, then you could be, going through that whole heat treat process. You could have one oven that was just tempering all day long. You could have one that you had ramped up for quenching or for thermal cycling and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Just another $5,000 out the window.
Yeah, that's it.
I had to do like a merry-go-round type deal because I only have one quench tank. I didn't find a big I was going to upscale into a bigger one, but I didn't find one yet. So I was like, oh, well, so what I was doing was I would quench a batch, stick my quench tank outside while the second batch heated up, quench that batch. And then at that point in time, it would need longer to sit outside. So I'd sit it outside, take like a hour break, start the next 2 cycles. And then it took me a full day to heat treat all 50.
Oh, I'll bet easily whole day.
Yeah.
How many gallons are in your quench tank?
2.
2. Yeah, okay, that's gonna heat up pretty fast.
Are they ammo cans?
It's a mortar can, like from a World War II mortar shell. So it's about 4
big,
inches
tall
in
one?
diameter. Yeah, it's like 3 feet deep and 4 inches in diameter. I can fit exactly 2 gallons in it. Yeah. I'm doing a 50-50 mix of Parks and AAA.
Now I don't know how big your knives are, but I mean I from corner to corner in my ammo can, I can do a 8-inch chef's knife. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
ammo cans are cheap and small. Like you could have
it's
three,
the
four, five of
volume.
those.
It's the volume doing 6 back to back to back to back. Like right after it comes out, I stick it in my plates to hold it flat and dunk the next one.
Well, I think what he was saying is you could cycle them inside and outside. So if you had multiple, you could have, one or two outside cooling, one inside that you're using,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and do
Yeah.
it that way.
yeah. My neighbor's given me a big old piece of 8-inch steel pipe, and I'm gonna make a couple more.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah. So
Now, have you
because
ever
that,
dropped a knife down the tube and had to fish it out?
yeah, I've
Well,
got a
of
magnet.
course.
Oh yeah,
So I
I've got
dropped
a
one at the
magnet.
bottom of the ammo can. No big deal. You can see it.
I lost a knife one time. I was doing a big batch of shotgunners, and had gotten them all. I had gotten them all tempered, and I had got them all finished ground, and I was making sheaths, and I was like, "Wait a second, my count is off. Like, what? What the heck? I can't remember how many I was doing. It was crazy. It was like 15 or something. It was crazy for me. I was like, wait a second, I'm missing one. I'm looking all around the shop. I can't find this thing anywhere. And I'm like, oh, didn't I drop one? So I had to go fishing around in the coin snake, and I found it. And I was like, all right, well, luckily it's not cracked or anything. I'll just temper this one by itself, I guess. Whoops.
Or at least you didn't lose it
Oopsie.
in the acid.
Yeah, I have forgotten a knife in the acid one time, and that was less than ideal.
I've done that.
Knock on wood, I haven't failed
Yep.
to do that yet. So
When I
that's
came out the next day and found it, it looked like it had been at the bottom of the ocean for 1,000 years. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, yesterday I spent all day gluing. That's my least favorite part, the epoxy. I don't like having sticky shit on my hands. And even though I wear gloves, you always get it all over you. And I got about 28 of them glued up yesterday. So once we get done here and this is all going through post production, I'm going to start gluing up the rest of them.
Now, are those just your little mini cleavers, or that some of your customs as well?
That's the bulk order. The customs
Okay.
they're ready to have the holes drilled and then glued up. So all the blades are done except for one. Like you ever had one of them nights where like every time you touch something to the grinder, you fuck it up and you spend more time fixing fuck ups than you do like making the knife.
No,
That
that's
was
never
me.
happened to me.
That was me the other night. Every knife I put on the grinder, I'd fucking make a weird facet in it that was hard to get out, or I'd have to go back grits to get it out. And I'm like, you serious? And then the next day, I went back and I checked them all, and all of them looked good except for one. There was one where I was like, fuck it. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I've been going from like about noon to 3, 4 in the morning every day.
I'd say
For
for
what?
like my first like 6 to 8 months, like if I would go to grind a knife and I wasn't feeling it, like I wasn't doing very well, I would just put it to the side, be like screw it, I'm not gonna grind bevels today. I like had to mentally be in it and like really focus to do it. Otherwise, they weren't gonna turn out.
Yeah,
So
you really do. You got to be 100% in the flow state. Um, My usually that's what I do too is I'll set it down and walk away and be like I got something else I can do and I'll come back to that tomorrow or whatever. But with a deadline like this, I'm like I can't. I have to do these tonight.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like maybe that's my own internal goals that I'm setting up, but I feel like if you set those goals, you got to stick to them. And I was not giving up, and it was making me mad. There was one point where I had my headphones on, my respirator on, and I fucking was just squeezing the knife in my hand. I'm like, I want to chuck this across the shop so fucking bad. But I didn't. I just kept
Yeah.
going. Took a
Yeah.
breather.
I actually I reposted an old reel of mine just the other day talking about that same thing, Jeremy, where like you're at a certain point, and in that case, it was about finish work, which is a real struggle for me. It's like I have to be in the exact right mindset to want to do finished work. And if I'm not, it's like my brain won't let me. And if I try and force it, I've tried to force it a couple times, and it's just like you said, you screw something up and you spend so much more time trying to fix the screw up, and it's just not worth it. And that's kind of why I end up typically with many different projects in many different stages across my shop, is because I get to
Mhm.
that mental block point and then I just move on to something else. And it's, according to the internet, it's a very common trait of, shall we say, neurodivergent people. But it's funny how often those things come up in just the maker community in general, and it makes me like, I'll post something that's like, oh hey, I'm like this, haha, or whatever, and everyone else will be like, yes, that's exactly how I am. And it's like, are we really all just the same person, like just doing things at different stages? Like, so it's led me to believe that, like, the, I don't know if it's the artistic or the creative or whatever aspect of it is that makes us do this craft. There's a certain amount of that kind of neurodivergent mindset that draws us to do something like this, because we all share a lot of the same traits in the way that we go about things. And it's really interesting. I don't know. It makes me think about all the different people that kind of do this and how we all have similarities and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It's super neat, and it's like a lot of us, we're creatures of habit and routine. We have a hard time not doing something. You know what I mean? I can't just sit on my ass. I go nuts. I get what I call the guilt, and
Oh yeah.
I have to do something productive, or else my brain will just fucking short circuit, and I'll steep into an anxiety driven depression. I have to always be doing something.
Yeah. I'll be sitting on the couch and I'll just, like, I'll be fidgeting, but I won't really realize it. And my wife will look at me and go, "You good?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know why, but I'm not good." And she's like, "Well, it's okay to relax. You can relax. You've been, doing XYZ. Like, you need to relax." It's like, I can't. Sorry, can't relax.
My wife says the
Can't.
exact same thing. We sit down and we'll watch one episode of a show, and I'm like, okay, back to work. Like,
Mhm.
we've been watching Yellowstone lately, and I'll give her one episode. I'm like, I'll sit there for the 48 minutes or whatever it is, and we'll watch it, and I'll be into it, and we'll spend time together. But I can't sit there and watch a second, third, fourth, fifth episode. I can't do it.
See, for me, it's like complete opposite sometimes. I'll come inside, she'll have a show on, and be like, okay. And I'll sit down and have a sandwich or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm hooked. And it's pretty soon I just came inside at 4 o'clock for a sandwich. Now it's 8 o'clock. We just sat there and watched TV for 4 hours. And I was like, I really just pissed this day away.
Maybe it's
Then,
just
Well,
me
then,
that
and you,
happened.
Noah.
then
No,
I'll go
see,
back out and I'll go back out and work on knives for another 4 hours. And then it's midnight. And I'm like, all right, probably should go to bed at this point because I got to get up for work tomorrow.
I can do both. It just depends on, like, how. It depends on where my brain decides to find the dopamine at that particular point in time. If I get down into a show that I want to watch, and this has to be in the evening, I can't watch during the day usually. I that doesn't work. But if I watch a show, like the most recent one I got hooked into, it was on Amazon. It's like a space drama thing. Anyways, I can't remember what it was called.
Lost in
But I
space.
watched, no, it was the one about the proto molecule, and there was, like, the people on the asteroid belt. Anyways, never mind. The point is that I got hooked into this show.
The
I
100.
got hooked in. No, no, that's not it either. Uh, I got hooked into this show, and, like, every night I would be up until like 2 o'clock in the morning because I had to watch the next episode because I was just hooked into it, and I couldn't stop. It's I haven't watched a show in probably, well, since that one ended. So I don't know. It's been a while, because if I get hooked into it, then I just watch it. I have no self control. I have to watch all of it, and so I don't watch TV shows. It's better for me that way.
we're watching Ozark right now, and it's got me. So I'm
Does it?
kind of scared. But no, what are you doing in your shop this week? We get a little
What
off topic there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What am I
we
doing
do
in my
that.
shop? So I actually I've been really slow lately. I've been working off and on one order, which is a fillet knife. It's a Damascus Sanmai,
You just showed me
and
that.
yeah, I'm really happy with the way that one turned out. It the original forging of the Damascus definitely didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but then when I got the final pattern together, it actually turned out better than I had anticipated. So I went with it, and so that one's really cool. I had some issues with DLAMs that I had to grind out and forge and then reforge, and it was a pain. But that one I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I actually just got that one, the handle shaped and everything, so that one's just about ready to ship out. And then I just recently got another order for I won't name the customer, but it was another knife maker that ordered a knife from me, and that's never happened to me before. And it
Was
just
it
struck. What's that?
Todd Harrington?
No, it wasn't. I'm
It
not going
was.
to say
It
no.
wasn't. It wasn't T Family.
No, it wasn't, and I'm not going to name him. I'm sure he'll post about it when I send it to him and everything. But it was such an honor to get a knife order from another knife maker, and I've to have because we all make knives, like it is we can make it ourselves. So the fact that somebody likes my work enough to make an order from me was freaking cool. And like I said, I've really only got one order right now, so I've been a little discouraged. I haven't really sold a whole lot of knives, and so it was pretty big in my just to give me that boost to kind of keep going. It was really awesome. So I'm going to be making a Damascus shotgunner, and I'm going to be making it however I want. And so I'm going to be doing a Damascus pattern that I've never tried before, but I've kind of had in my head for a little while. And so I'm really excited to do that. Aside from that, I've actually had a couple of restorations. I don't like doing restorations.
I won't do them
Um,
unless it's my own personal blade.
well, there are very few people in this world that can get me to do a restoration, and one of my customers, who is probably one of my top customers, one of my favorite customers, came to me with some restorations that he had, and for him, I'll do it. Like it's one of those things where if it was like somebody random messaged me, I'd be like, no, I don't do that. It's all good. But somebody that's got multiples of my blades and supports me as a maker and everything like that, and is one of my great customers that I really enjoy, like as a person and everything as well, I'll do it for them. So I'm doing a couple of restorations that I've almost got finished up. And those actually went better than I expected. So that was actually had a little bit of fun with that. So that was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got in my
I
that. And
want to.
I've actually had a few people reach out to me for, I don't know, not I don't want to say advice, but like just help with techniques and different stuff like that, which has been really cool. It's not something I've done a whole lot in the past because let's face it, I've only been doing this for like 2 years, 2.5 years. So I definitely would never consider myself to be an expert or never consider myself to be overly skilled. I just do what I can, I'm kind of finding my own way. So having people reach out to me and ask for advice on stuff and, hey, how do you do this? I'm more than happy to tell people how I do things and, share some of my secrets that I don't post all the time, like my hand sanding secret. That was a big help to somebody the other day. That was awesome. So yeah, it's been good. No, not you, Jeremy, because you make your knives wrong, so it doesn't work for you.
I mean, I still have to try it, to be honest. But I want to touch on the other makers' knives, because I never thought of myself as like a knife collector, but now like seeing other makers' work, like all of a sudden, like I'm I want other makers' knives. Like I have a list of makers that I'm like, at some point I'm getting a knife from them. And why I don't know, but it's just something that like Noah, your style, or like Ryan's style. I'm like, I want that because like I don't do diamond grinds. I don't do a lot of chef's knives. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I see Ryan's and I'm like, I want that, or like I
Thanks,
don't know.
buddy. It's the ultimate form of flattery when somebody who's capable of doing what you're doing wants something you've made.
It
You know
makes
what
you
I
feel
mean?
good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
There's been a
like
couple of
Noah
people
said,
who've told me that I'm on their list, and I'm like, holy fuck, really? Me? Why me? what what did I do?
Yeah,
well,
it's
I'm
a
like,
super humbling feeling. It makes you
Mm.
feel good for sure.
and I'm with Noah on that. Like, I had made this little like EDC, little like I don't know, 3-inch blade or so, and I was just sharing it with other, I don't know, just on Instagram, sharing it with other makers. And Brian Cohn and I talk a lot. And I had sent it to him because his carbon fiber, so I was wanted to show it off. And he's like, "Dude, I want that." And I was like, "What? Like, really?" So he talked about it on their podcast a little bit, but I was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Well, hold on." So I text my brother because it was a knife that my brother had asked me to make him. And I'm like, "Dude, someone wants your knife." I said, "Can I sell it?" He's like, "Yeah, go ahead." So I sent that one out to Brian, made like I suck at forging the same knife twice. And somehow I managed to actually do it to a pretty identical piece. And then I forged out my brothers and they ended up looking really similar. And I was like, oh, I can do it. Which I suck at it. So for me to like forge the same thing twice and not back to back, it's like that's pretty neat.
Let me switch gears here. Let's play some ads. So we did Maritime twice in a row first. So we'll do Phoenix Abrasives this time. And if you need belts, go check them out. He just got done doing a huge Black Friday sale. I think it was like 15% off or something like that, the whole website.
Yes,
I
sir.
could I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. Yeah, anyways.
Hustle and Grind is sponsored by PhoenixAbrasives.com, your one-stop abrasive shop. They stock all the abrasive belts you need in all sizes. They also offer knife-making kits, which have all the goods you need in one kit, as well as hand sanding and buffing materials. Go to PhoenixAbrasives.com and use the code HUSTLE10 for 10% off your order.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke. And for any of you guys out there that were listening to our episode with Noah Vachon, and we were talking about those, like the Trizact and the other like structured abrasives, definitely check out Phoenix Abrasives because there are not a whole lot of abrasive companies out there that sell those structured abrasives. I know a lot of people have them or they have versions of them, but you're not going to find the selection that they have at Phoenix for all the different grits and the different types of structured abrasives that there are. Um,
There's
so
several. This let's dive into that a little bit because I use mostly structured abrasives. Um, so there's three types. If you're looking for like how large the grit structure is, so Trizact Gator grit is the big ones, the big rectangular little abrasive chunks on the belt, and that's the one I use probably the most. Then there's the Norton Norax, which you can't get at Phoenix Abrasives, but you can get them at Maritime Knife Supply. And those are kind of like a medium-sized structured abrasives. And all these abrasives have the same grit. And then Trizact has a fine grit one that I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's their higher grit. So it goes up to like 2,500. And I call those ones space belts because they sound like a UFO when they're running on your grinder.
they do. You're right.
And for me, the benefit of structured abrasives is you can get into higher grits without changing the radius of your belt. So if you go from a 36 grit thick weight belt down to a 120 grit J-Flex or up into the higher grits before you hand sand, the thinner the belt, it slightly changes your radius on your grind. And it can be a pain in the ass. And to get around that, I've started using structured abrasives because they're thick all the way up into the high grits.
So that's why my plunge lines progressively like get uglier. Because yeah, my like 60 and 120 are pretty. They're the just X weight or whatever, just like your
Mhm.
standard. And then I'll go to like a well, like my 400 is a Trizac belt, which now I'm not sure if I should be using that or not. But regardless, it's different. So my plunge lines get kind of like, messed up, more or less, because they're
Well,
different.
it shouldn't matter on a flat grind though, as far as the thickness of the belt. I wouldn't think.
No.
So,
Well,
but then go
you're
ahead.
not it's not 100% flat. There's always going to be like, because when you're grinding, so if you have a thick belt, microscopically it's making a shape on the edge of the belt. Not microscopically, but minutely it's creating a shape. So if you go from flat to flat with a thinner belt, you're not going to fill in that area that the thicker belt was filling in. Does that make sense? And then you'll end up with like little facets and lines and shit like that. For me, it seems like sticking thick all the way up through it saves me a lot of time. But that's just me. Everybody grinds different. It's weird too because everybody has different belt progressions. I jump right from 36 to 120, and some guys go 36, 60, 80, 120. You know what I mean?
I don't even
We
touch 36 anymore because
you don't?
I forge my bevels in. If I start at 36, it gets too thin before, and then I get stuck with these 36 grit scratch lines that are so deep and I'm already so thin that I can't get them out. So
Yeah.
I'll forge my bevels in and then I'll go right to 60.
Wow.
Yeah, see, I'm stock removal, so I use 36 the most. That's the belt that I go through the most.
Well, and I do a lot of sand so a lot of times I'm forging to full thickness, and then I'm grinding my bevel in because otherwise you're not going to see that pattern of the sand. So I forge my bevels in
Ah.
sometimes, and then sometimes I'm just doing a basically a stock removal because otherwise you're not going to be able to see that pattern underneath that sand. So I use the 36 grits a lot, whether it's grinding for stacking Damascus or whether it's grinding those bevels in after forging. That 36 grit is vital to my operation.
Yeah, me too. Those are the ones I break the most too. And I'm starting to think maybe I need to look into something different, or maybe I'm doing something incorrectly, or my grinder, maybe the shock that holds up my tracking arm is too strong, because I've broken.
Well, you can
Fuck.
adjust the tension based on the how far out your arm is, can't you?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, but
So, question, because I'm not super familiar with all the Trizac, but the Trizac belts I do have, are they? Can I use them to remove material, or are those belts to refine scratches?
both. I mean, you're always
Depends on the
removing
grit.
material. Yeah, I do. So my progression, like, so everybody says that my lines are super clean, which I could debate that. I don't think they're as clean as people say they are or make it out to be. But I think as artists, we're always critical of ourselves. But what I do is, so 36 grit to the rough bevel shape or hollow shape or whatever I'm doing. 120 grit, I get it refined on a Trizac 120. So I go straight from 36 grit ceramic to a Trizac coarse 120. And I get it refined to a point that I'm happy with it. The majority of the crisping of my plunge lines or, out towards the tip is done at the high grits, because you can do a pass and not remove very much material. So if you do a fucked up pass, you're not screwing the whole blade. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like Noah Vashon said on his episode, he said every pass doesn't matter until the last one.
When
So you
doing
have
a
And
belt
multiple
finish.
facets.
yeah, when doing a belt finish, because it's worth pointing out that I don't hand sand my blades. I'm 100% a grinder finish. I very rarely will do mirror. if somebody wants a mirror finish from me, it's going to double the cost of the knife
Time.
because
Lots
I'm
of
doing
time.
I'm doing a belt finish, and and then at the end I clean them up with Scotch Brites. I love me a Scotch Brite belt.
I just learned a huge, like, for me, it's just like an eye opener, like a learning curve. I had been using the same Scotch Brite belts for forever. And, like you said, they had that abrasive sale. So I was like, all right, I don't really need anything, but there's a sale and it's knife making. So, I spent some money, got some new belts. Well, I got some new Scotch Brites, and I went and ran a knife through the Scotch Brite, and I was like, holy smokes. I was like, these don't last as long as I thought they did. Like, they still last, but I was like, this is a way completely different finish than what I was getting before. And that's when it hit me. They're like, these do have a timeline or like a lifespan.
Jason and Pickle taught me that when your Scotch Brites get worn out, if you coat them in WD-40, it makes like a nice satin finish. It's like, well, I have one Scotch Brite belt that I have soaked, and then if I want to do like a nice soft finish, I'll use the oil soaked one, but the rest of them I run dry.
What color?
I have all four. I go right up from
Well,
coarse to
your oil soaked one, which is
the gray, the very fine.
Okay.
That's funny. That's exactly what I have, because I there are some knives, if I'm doing like a satin finish on like a mono steel chef, yeah, I want that on there. But if it's anything else, it's probably going to get dipped in acid at some point. Like, I don't want WD-40 anywhere near that blade, because otherwise you're going to be scrubbing that thing to make sure that it's perfectly clean before it goes in the acid or something like that. So
actually,
I just have that one belt that I have WD-40 on, and everything else is clean.
And you could make an argument that WD-40 on a blade and then etching it makes an interesting finish.
Yeah, unless I'm going for a very specific Damascus pattern that I want to look a certain way.
Well, not Damascus. If you're doing like a stonewash finish.
Oh yeah, sure. Those I like to be as random as possible, just because I like them to look kind of jacked up, because the whole point of a stonewash finish is to make it look like it's going to look after somebody uses it for a couple years. And that's why I like the stonewash finish so much, is because people that think that they want carbon steel but don't actually know what carbon steel is, it's good for them.
So I'm doing a stonewash cleaver right now, and
sick.
Yeah, it is sick. It's for my buddy, and I wrote his name on the blade before I heat treated it, and then when I etched it in the acid, his name popped out of the steel, so it says Bradford on the side of the knife.
Oh,
did you leave
dude.
No, I got to grind it out.
Oh no,
my handwriting. So cool. But now that I know that you can do that, my handwriting isn't that great. It was like I was scribbling it on there, so it's like Bradford and Sharpie. But now that I know that for some reason it will change the whatever in the metal when you heat treat it was worth mentioning. It's stainless, so it's heat treated in a pouch.
Oh, really?
It's cool that it sticks like that. Like Matt Berger will draw smiley faces and stuff on him just because it looks interesting when you pull it out of that plate quench.
Yeah.
Just to mess around.
Well, speaking of Matt Berger, he sent me a Florida man story this week. So, do we want to do some Florida man?
Yeah, let me pull up my calendar real quick, because I think he's coming on the show soon.
He's next week.
Is he next week?
I don't know if you guys know this. Matt Berger and I are we live pretty close to each other. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So when I first got into knife making, I had a buddy show me his account on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, you should check this guy out." So yeah, I started messaging Matt and everything, and I said, "Hey, like, he basically asked if I ever wanted to, I could come out to a shop and kind of, just see what he's got, and just, I don't know, I was super green, and I was like, "How about tomorrow?" He's like, let me check with the wife and see what we got going on. And I ended up going out there the next day, and I bet I spent 3-4 hours over there just asking questions, looking at stuff. Super cool guy. I go over there, he lets me use his power tools because he's got the press, he's got the tire hammer. So it's nice to have someone that close and that knowledgeable that they're willing to share. It's awesome.
Yeah. He's next week, so we'll get to meet him. I haven't met him yet. I talked to him booking the show, but that was it. And the week after that is Nate Walpole of Walrus Steel.
Walrus Steel.
And then
That should
Ira
be fun.
Houseworth is the one we're doing on Christmas Day.
Nice.
Or around Christmas. It depends on everybody's schedule. But yeah, let's roll into Florida Man. We did not do the Patreon spotlight last week.
Let's make sure we do that.
Yeah, we got to make sure we do that. And I think we made a mistake because we're trying to like cram fucking ads and so many different like, you know what I mean? And we like if we did everything we had planned, all our shows would be up to like an hour and 45 now. So I think we're gonna like hit or miss on the WFI projects if we do it every week or not every week. Just kind of like what we feel like type deal, I think.
Well, we had a lot of people on the show last week, so
yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah. 4 man's that's hard to manage. It's hard to not have two separate conversations going at the same time.
For sure.
But let's roll into the old Florida Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready to play. Is it Florida Man or fraud? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to play. Our favorite game that we play every week, Florida Man or Fraud. Last week, we did a test run, trying out some satire news stories to see if we could get our guests to guess whether it was a real or a fake story. I'm not really sure how that went because none of you gave me any feedback. But either way, this week, I didn't have time to write any ridiculous fake stories, so we were going back to the original version of Florida Man or Fraud, or working title here, Where in the World is Florida Man? This first one is either in Florida or it is from somewhere else. Jeremy, Ryan, and all you lovely people at home, tell me, where in the world is Florida Man? We begin with this submission from KH Daily Knives. Woman sues Kraft mac and cheese over preparation time. A woman has sued the makers of Velveeta shells and cheese, claiming that the dish takes too long to make. The Kraft company markets its microwavable cups as, quote, ready in 3.5 minutes. But Amanda Ramirez says that it takes longer. The $5 million lawsuit claims the time advertised does not include preparation time. Opening the lid and sauce pouch before adding water and stirring. Kraft Heinz Foods Company described the lawsuit as, quote, frivolous. We are aware of this frivolous lawsuit and will strongly defend against the allegations and complaint, a spokesperson told the BBC. In the lawsuit, which was filed in a court last month, Ms. Ramirez's lawyers claimed that she paid more than she would have had she known the truth. The lawsuit also asked the company to, quote, cease its deceptive advertising and, quote, be made to engage in a corrective advertising campaign. Do you think that this person who took longer than 3.5 minutes to prepare her mac and cheese was from Florida or somewhere else in the world?
Dude, that lady's dumb. That's ridiculous.
And here's the point. This is a real story. This isn't last week. This is this week, which means that This is a real headline. This really happened.
That's about as bad as the hot coffee from McDonald's.
That lady won.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Still ridiculous.
And that's what opened the gate for people like this potential Florida woman. This is the first opportunity we've had to have a Florida woman on the show, by the way. Just wanted to point that out there. So
we're all about equality here.
This is the equality show right here.
Mm-hmm. It's before I dive into her or that phrasing. It's crazy how often this happens. When I was a manager for Ruby Tuesdays, we would get letters from the legal department regularly about frivolous lawsuits people were filing against the store. And when you're a corporate restaurant like that, I get that letter just so that they were telling me it happened and they handle all of it.
Right.
And some of them were ridiculous. Like here, it's a fire code that you have to keep the walkways clear. And this lady had come in and her son was in a wheelchair, and we put him in the walkway because there was nowhere else for him to sit at the table. And she sued us because we put him in danger.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Florida lady. I'm going to say this is not Florida. This sounds like southern Texas, Alabama, Louisiana type deal.
I'm agreeing, but I'm saying California.
Ooh, that's a good guess.
Wow. Okay.
Final answer.
Yeah.
Final answer. Both of you are going not Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You were both incorrect. That is absolutely Florida.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I am sorry, but yes, that is the first incidence that we have had of Florida woman on the show. Yeah. 3.5 minutes.
What a
She's
letdown.
raising the bar.
All right, here we go. This next one is from Brian Hinnekamp of Tortuga Blade Works. A man is threatening to sue an artist whose invisible sculpture sold for $18,000, saying that he came up with the idea first. Tom Miller, who said he made an invisible sculpture in 2016, is demanding visibility. Earlier this month, an Italian artist named, can't pronounce that, went viral when his immaterial sculpture, that is, a work of art made of literally nothing, sold for $18,300 at auction. Articles about the sales shared widely, often accompanied by captions of, I could have done that variety. Users posted pictures of blank spaces, their own invisible sculptures, which could surely have been had for a fraction of that person's price. Many bemoaned the fact that they didn't think of it first.
Wow.
So do you think that the man who claimed he's literally suing because he came up with the idea of an invisible sculpture first? Does that sound like Florida, or does that not sound like Florida?
That sounds like California. San Francisco Bay Area, to be specific.
Wow, we're getting personal here, guys.
I've been there. It's okay.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna go no. I'm gonna go somewhere strange like Idaho.
Wow, so you're both saying not Florida once again.
Yep.
And you're both wrong again.
Wow.
Guys, this is Florida here.
We're not doing good.
All right. Okay.
Florida, the land of frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah, why are these all about lawsuits? Okay, here we go. This one's a good one. Oh, shoot. I think I lied. This one is not from Matt Berger. This is from Bremner Built Knives. I apologize. It started with a B, and my mind is very simple. So, Bremner Built Knives sent in, real life go to jail card. Man arrested after family game of Monopoly turned violent when he got angry and allegedly shot at his stepsister and stepfather. There was no collecting... Sorry. Excuse me. There was no collecting $200 for one man who went directly to jail after firing a gun at his family members during a game of Monopoly Saturday. John Ronald Dwayne Armstrong was arrested after a round of the game erupted into an argument, with the table and the game's board being flipped in the process before he allegedly chased his stepsister and stepfather down the street while pointing a gun at them.
That's quite the moniker.
Okay,
he's got quite the name going.
He's got quite the name going, but here's the thing. That can happen anywhere. Like, Monopoly is a serious game that ends friendships, families. I mean, this is not the first time, I'm sure, that a game of Monopoly has turned physically violent. This one just happened to, get in the news because there was a gun involved. But yeah, if anybody's ever played Monopoly, you know how serious it can get.
Monopoly was banned in my house.
Ooh.
Because my sons growing up, one was older than the other, so he was naturally better at math. And
screwed him over.
My fucking younger son would get so pissed off because, me, my wife, and my two sons all playing, we're all like, seasoned at math. He was like 6 or 7 at the time. He'd be like, I don't understand why I have to give you all my money. Yeah. So we stopped playing Monopoly in the house. That I'm going Florida.
Now
Said not Florida.
that happened in the Midwest.
That
Do you
happened.
remember it?
You're saying that as a fact. Do you have inside information?
No, that's my guess. That's 100% a guess.
Okay. All right. So Ryan, you're saying Florida. Jeremy, you got Midwest on this one, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. It is Oklahoma.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's Midwest.
It was a very good guess on Jeremy's part. I applaud that one. All right, so we got Jeremy 1, Ryan nothing. We got, geez, I got a bunch of these. You wouldn't believe how many of these I've freaking gotten. So
you should read mine.
I can't read yours on the air, Jeremy, because you're on the show. That wouldn't make much sense, would it?
No, the ones you can't read.
I'm not reading about people being chopped up and put into suitcases. That's not
Come on.
family entertainment.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we go. This is been sent in by one of my favorite contributors to the show, Todd Harrington. 2 men, one dressed in a bull onesie, attempt to burn down a house with ragu sauce, police say. 2 men were caught with their hands in the pasta jar after they used ragu sauce to try and burn down a home they robbed last week, police said. Derek Irving, 36, and John Silva, 28, were arrested after allegedly breaking into a home in blank and stealing a flat screen television, blah, blah, blah. When police arrived at the home, they saw a red SUV trying to flee the residence, authorities said. The 2 suspects told officers they were picking up clothes from the house. The victim noted that Irving was donning a bull costume onesie. A deputy said there was an air conditioning unit, a vacuum, television, heater, a marijuana grinder, and an empty jar of ragu sauce inside the vehicle. Deputies found the burning pot of ragu sauce and a washcloth near the stove's burner, which appeared to be an attempt to start a fire. Quote, he was trying to make it look like I left the stove on, but who gets up at 2 a.m. and fixes sketty? The victim told.
That's a good one.
So do you gentlemen think that this pair of bull costume onesie wearing ragu sauce geniuses were from Florida or somewhere else?
Florida. Though you said he had a heater, and you don't really need heaters in Florida. So no, I changed my answer. Not Florida.
North Dakota.
Final answer?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
That was Florida.
Oh, shit.
I have no idea why you would have a heater. I wasn't even going to read. The only reason I read off the items that they had stolen, but there was an air conditioning unit as well. So, I mean, I don't know. The only reason I read off the items was because they brought the empty jar of ragu sauce with them. Like,
why?
If you're gonna like make it look like somebody made a pot of spaghetti and left it on and burned their house down, wouldn't you leave the jar there? Because wouldn't you need a jar to put the sauce in the pot? Like,
today's
we're
criminals
dealing with some
just,
real geniuses here.
They're just getting dumber and dumber.
That's ridiculous.
I just love the fact that they brought the jar with them. It's the best part of the story for me.
They were hard up, obviously.
Trying to hide the fingerprints.
That must have been what it was. Yes, I don't know. All right, I got more, but I think we should call it there. Jeremy, you win. You got him.
Yeah, I'm 4-0 on this one, or 0-4 on this one. But
sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
So let's talk about Maritime Knife Supply real quick. So Maritime Knife Supply, Lawrence Lake, he sells Seat Corp everything, epoxy, CA glue. A lot of people don't know I have fake teeth. So, like, I have no front teeth. I smashed my teeth out when I was a little kid. So I've had these fake teeth for 23 years or whatever. The other night I'm in my shop. It's super late. I grab a piece of stale pizza. I go to bite into the pizza, and this tooth popped right off the plate. Pop.
I love where this story is going.
He's going to CC.
So this tooth is now glued on with Seat Corp ultra thick epoxy. And I used my diamond files that I got from Lawrence Lake because I had to, if my bottom teeth contact the plate, it'll pop the tooth back off. So I had to take a little bit out of the plate, and I had to take a little bit off that tooth. The old diamond files came in handy. Who needs a dentist?
This
Don't
is
worry.
just glorious.
It was a new
more?
file. It was a new file.
How
But
comforting.
if you need to fix even dental appliance or whatever it's called, a dental fixture, Lawrence has got you covered.
Hustle and
That was-
Grind is sponsored by Maritime Knife Supply. Whether you're looking for steel, abrasives, handle material, forges, epoxy, or anything for making in general, Maritime Knife Supply has you covered. And in the US or Canada, they ship faster than the great Cobra chicken goosesses that their country is known for. Go to Maritime Knife Supply, and when you buy a 10-pack of belts, get 10% off. And tell them we sent you, eh?
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke. So I'm still just sitting here in awe of how amazing that story was, and I love that so much. So yeah, if you need to fix your teeth, go to Lawrence. I just can't. That's freaking awesome, dude. I'm so happy that you did that.
I can't walk around without him. I can't talk without him in. I've had him for so long
Oh yeah,
that
of course.
that like if I talk without them in, I sound ridiculous. Like I can't speak without them. And I'm not going to walk around. I'm not going to walk around with one missing. I didn't swallow the tooth, so I cleaned it up. I dried it off.
I was gonna say, did you take like the air compressor nozzle to like your gum and like try and dry it out before you like?
No. They come out, so it's a plate.
Oh, so it came off the plate.
Yeah, it broke off the front of the plate.
Okay, I'm sitting here imagining you with an air gun drying off like the stud or fixture that you've got in there, and like CA gluing like your mouth and like putting
No. Mine's a poor man's prosthetic. I can't afford implants. They're like $5,000 a tooth.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
okay.
my
I've
dentist
heard
quoted
that.
me like $9,000 to do both fronts.
Okay, it's still a great story though. I love it.
It's a temporary fix, and it's only for looks. I can't bite anything with it now, so I have to take my teeth out now when I eat, and it sucks because the roof of my mouth is very delicate because I've had a fucking super thick plastic plate protecting the top of my mouth for 20 something years.
Gotcha.
So I was eating beef stew the other night, and my fucking roof of my mouth was bleeding afterwards.
Could you imagine him
when I eat Captain Crunch?
Damn it! You took it from me. It's already rough as is.
Oh, so these things too. I've found a new addiction to these. Nerds Big Chewy. It's like a fucking gummy bear covered in nerds almost.
You're a child.
So I was munching those the other night in the shop, and I had my teeth out, and then I went to put my teeth back in. I'm like, fuck, that hurts. I went and looked in the mirror, and I'm missing a molar back here, and like that whole section of my mouth was bleeding. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I've had this plate in for so long. I've got sissy gums. I'm gonna have to get a new one. A new one's like $1,500.
Jeez.
Yeah, because they got to go in and take impressions and have it made to fit my mouth, and it's a pain in the ass.
Just get a 3D printer.
Print my teeth off.
Yeah.
Print yourself some teeth, man.
Just get some clay, pack it in there, take it out, let it dry, 3D print around it.
It's weird. All the teeth I'm missing are on the top set. I'm not missing any on the bottom set. And I grind my teeth really bad in my sleep. Like my wife and my first wife, both of them would wake me up in the middle of the night and be like, hey, you're fucking gonna bust a tooth. And I have. I've woken up before with pieces of teeth in my mouth.
Nice.
So Lawrence, if you're listening, what this means is that you need to start carrying 3D printers so that people can print their own teeth. And then you can be a one-stop dental shop as well as everything else.
And mouth guards.
between diamond files, 3D printers, and CA glue, we're going to have these people covered.
Does Lawrence listen to all these podcasts?
Yes, he does.
Because I think he should carry these. Do you guys know what it's a pica pencil? So it's got this really thin tip to it, right? So if you need to transfer or scribe holes, it's a mechanical pencil. So you get, your lead. It's got a sharpener on the bottom. Really handy. Got a little clip. Put it in your pocket. It's just out of the way. And Pica makes markers. So for like if I need to trace something, like maybe maybe not handle scales, but on steel, like pencil don't work on steel. Sharpie can, but it's really fat. Well, so they make this like pencil marker thing, and it's thin. I'm like, dude, they're awesome. I love Pica.
So it's PIKA?
PICA.
PICA.
They make like a colored pencil, like colored lead. They make a marker. They have just the regular pencil. They're awesome.
So I definitely wouldn't use a pencil, but I like the marker thing that you're talking about. I might have to look into that.
I use a pencil on Kydex.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Because if you use a marker, it's permanent.
I like that it has the clip on it. It's got the clip on it, like pocket on your shirt, whatever. Like, because I don't wear an apron, so I don't have a bunch of pockets for stuff. But this is always on me. And it's got a little sheath thing for it, so and it doesn't fall out. It's great. Just a thought.
Jeremy, bringing the value to all you listeners, go check out Pica pencils.
Yeah, they're on
Pica
Instagram.
Markers. Huh.
Yeah. I have a couple of different pencils in the shop. My brother made them both for me. I've got a fine lead one, which is just your regular mechanical pencil lead. And then I've got a clutch pencil that's made out of cherry burl, and it's a 1/4 inch thick piece of lead. And you hold the back and you slide the lead out, or you push it back in however long you want it, and you make it whatever shape you want. That's a pretty cool one.
You guys are fancy with your pencils.
It's something you use every day, all the time. Like, I mean, I guess, I'm a carpenter too, so that's kind of a big deal. But like, I bought it for work. I haven't been working for a month, so now I just wear it daily, and I use it all the time. It's just, I don't know. It's something I really like, and it's always on me, so it's useful.
Yeah. Well, go check out Lawrence Lake at Maritime Knife Supply for dental needs, knife making needs, anything you need to make.
Yeah, I actually just got my first batch of stainless steel from Lawrence the other day, which I am really excited to get into.
What'd you go with?
In your poopy brown oven?
In my poopy brown oven, yes. I went simple. I did what everyone else does, and I just got some AEBL.
It's great steel, man. I love it.
Nitro
I can't wait to work with it.
Nitro V is hard.
Yeah. AEBL and Nitro V are very similar. I think AEBL is a little bit more forgiving in the heat treat. I did some CPM S30V a few months back, and that shit's like grinding stone. It's so hard.
All that CPM stuff is crazy hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I made that boning knife out of Nitro V, and I didn't have any warping issues. Like, a lot of people will say that AEBL will warp when you grind it, and you have to like grind the other side evenly to like get it back to warp straight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't have that problem with Nitro V, but just my 2 cents on my one knife that I made with it.
The only time I've ever seen Nitro V warp while I'm grinding it is if I got it too hot. If you don't, I quench every pass. If you get it too hot, it like you can bend it almost. I mean, probably not like to that point, you know what I mean? But it's very, I don't know what the word, but it's
pliable.
Yeah, I would say it
Malleable?
Right out of the plate. Right out of the plates. Yes. It doesn't really get super hard until you do the cryo, but you can, if you overheat it, you can definitely make the blade curl for sure.
Noah, do you cryo? Do you have a doer?
I don't have a doer. I haven't even made a single stainless knife yet, man. I don't even know what I'm doing.
I use my freezer.
Good luck. Yeah, I just use my deep freeze. I mean,
I leave it
honestly,
for a whole day.
if you have a doer with liquid nitrogen, really you're only getting like plus 3 to 5% on edge retention, or like it's not a huge deal. Matt Gentry doesn't cryo his stuff, as far as I know. He might throw them in the freezer, but he don't have a doer or anything like that.
Yeah, I've seen a few different ways that people do it, whether it's a freezer or whether it's the dry ice mixture. So I'll figure it out. Like I said, I'm just kind of dipping my feet. I know people have said that kind of ABL is like you were saying, Ryan, more forgiving than some others. So I'm just gonna try it out, see how it works. I got the steel and some stainless foil from Lawrence. Try it out and see how it is. I might try forging some. I did get some DMs from people that were listening to one of the other podcasts about how I like forging, so that's why I didn't want to get into stainless and stuff. So I might try forging it, or I might just my first ones I'll probably just do stock removal. That way I can get a feel for it, um, and see if people are interested in buying stainless knives from me. It's a different market, I feel like, and
I'm
I don't
pretty
know.
sure once Pickle switched over to stainless, I don't think he went back. I mean, he'll listen to this and correct me if I'm wrong, but once he started using AEBL, it seemed like, other than his Damascus knives, all his mono steel knives, I think he was like in love with it. I love it. It grinds so good.
Does it really?
It grinds so nice. It's
Sweet.
it's very forgiving steel, but
And you heat treat it full thickness?
yeah, yeah. I don't do any grinding post heat treat or pre-heat treat. Um, Profile drill holes. That's it.
Okay. That's what I've
And then
heard
heat.
for the most part. I'll probably just go that route because that's what other people do. So we'll see.
It's you get less warpage that way. If, like, let's say you put your bevels in before heat treat and you have a tiny bit more taken off one side, the knive's going to want to curl to that side.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned about the edge itself getting a wiggle in it or something like that. Like even if your spine's straight, well, you could have a little wiggle in that edge that then you're gonna have to grind out. And then if you get it too thin, well, then you're taking away your blade depth to try and compensate and stuff. Anyways, we've talked enough about this. Let's do we want to shout out some patrons?
Yes, we do. Hold on. I got to get my list. That was a hard stretch. Thanks to all the patrons.
We love you guys.
We do. We love you guys. And the list has started growing again, and I'm very thankful for that. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. So we'll go with Donnie Dulovich, KnifeMaterial.at, Aru Bladeworks, Brigham Kindell, Mark LeBlanc, Mark Vanderwerf, Richard Beck, Todd Harrington, Dennis Tyrell, Trucks Claire Custom Cutlery, Zachary Sowell, Maritime Knife Supply, Noah Bloomberg, Crafty Man Forge, Brian Hinnenkamp, Echo Blades, Sourwood Creations, Bremner Built Knives, Snake Branch Knife Works, Stormlight Forge, Timber Tiger Forge, Ira Housework, Maximus Knives, Jared Weaver at the Master of Metal Manipulation, and Brian Cohn. Thanks, everybody. Jared Weaver has the coolest name of all time.
That is
That
pretty
name,
awesome.
it's like it could be a band name, it could be the name of a song, it could be the name of a knife maker.
Yeah.
Master of Metal Manipulation. Let's roll into that. He is our Patreon spotlight this week.
All right.
Ooh, I just spit on my phone.
So on Instagram, we are looking for the master of metal manipulation.
Yeah. Come on.
I just typed in the word master to my search engine, and lo and behold, there he was.
Da-na-na-na.
All right, so all one word on Instagram, master of metal manipulation, no spaces, no underscores. We are looking at a big batch of knives. I don't know what he's working on, but he's got
Ooh.
surface grinder. He's got a big batch of what look like little hunters. Those
He's
are
got
cool.
some nice tools. He's got a nice bandsaw.
Yeah, he does.
I'm jealous of his bandsaw.
Ooh,
He's
he's
got a
got a.
true tilt.
That's what I was just about to say. Yep.
Speaking of true tilts, I did all the bevels on that batch of 50 on my true tilt.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. Took
I still have.
me 2.5 hours.
That's nothing, man.
Yeah, the bevels aren't much. They're only like 10 millimeters deep, but it's like to do
But
50
still,
of
to
them
50 of them,
identical.
yeah.
Yeah, I banged them out fast.
That's awesome. I still haven't gotten my True Tilt set up. It's driving me nuts. I
I'm
keep
gonna have
forgetting about
mine
it.
set up before you do.
I've had mine forever, and I like I said, I think it's just because I think I have like a Gen 2 or a Gen 3 Revolution, so the arm doesn't work with it or something when I first got it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll get to that, and then I just never have. It would save me so much time if I would just set it up, but I keep forgetting.
I want this guy's shop. He's got what 4 freaking house-made grinders?
Does he really?
Holy. Yeah, I think he's a metal fabricator. That's why he went with his name.
Yeah, but 4 grinders? I want one. Oh, I
Oh,
have
this is
one.
so cool. So you know how I was just talking about a knife restoration that I was doing. One of them is one of those like old hickory, like butcher style knives. Scroll down here. He actually did one not too long ago, the same style of knife.
Oh,
That's
nice.
cool.
Oh, like a Serbian cleaver almost.
I don't. Isn't the Serbian cleaver the one that has like the big curve in the back of it? Like it looks almost like Patrick's house in SpongeBob.
Are you Squidward?
No, this is Patrick.
I've watched way too much SpongeBob in my life. Oh, yeah, it looks like he's a pipeline worker.
Is he? How is he? Is he ever home then?
I don't know.
That is a big smoker. He's got his big ass smoker on the back of a trailer. That looks sweet.
Cooking some crabs. Doing some pew-pews with a suppressor.
Love me some pew
Nice.
pews.
I love me some pew-pews. My wife just bought me a poo-poo for Christmas.
22?
Sick.
9?
5.56.
Oh, that's nice.
5.56. Side charging, not a rear charge.
I currently am building my second. That's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love them. I've built a few.
I like building
Yeah.
the bolt actions a little more, but you know.
I built a few, and then I lost them all in that accident.
You a felon?
Yeah, no, boating accident. Same
real?
same
Yeah.
way I lost all mine. It was like they're down at the bottom of the lake, never to be found again.
I need to
Well,
get
the
a boat then.
The biggest problem for me is that up like probably 10, 20 miles north of me is one of the deepest lakes in the entire United States, Lake Chelan. And yeah, we were going hunting up near a buddy's cabin, which is up on the other side of the lake, and so we had to take a boat up there, and I had all of them with me, which was stupid of me. But yeah, they're all down at the deepest part of the lake. You can't even dive down there. It's so deep. It sucks.
Wow, that's cool.
Tragic.
But everybody go check out Jared Weaver at the Master of Metal Manipulation.
Yeah, I could scroll on this guy's page for a while. He's got a lot of nice hammers. He's got a lot of cool equipment. He makes a lot of cool stuff, not just knives. Check him out.
Cooking crabs. I love me some crab meat.
Listening to some high quality podcasts here, it looks like, as well.
Wow, we've been going an hour and 19 minutes, boys.
It's a trend. I think when I was on the Work For It podcast, that was their longest podcast they had ever had.
Oh, really?
But yeah, we were reaching the 2 hours, I believe. Getting there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Speaking of Work For It, I heard on their Patreon, what do you call it? After show. Yeah, I heard on the Patreon after show that Brian House caught wind of my hair comment and said that he always assumed Noah would be the funny one and not me, which is fine. Noah is a hilarious guy. What Brian doesn't...
I don't know if I take offense at that, though. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I wouldn't. It was a compliment
Okay, all right, we'll take it
for
as a
sure.
compliment.
What Brian doesn't know is that I have 4 brothers, and all we do is fucking roast each other. And I'm the one that they don't fuck with when it comes to roasting because I'm so good at it. And that's not even me being arrogant. It's a fact. When when it comes to roasting, I am exceptional. And the problem is I don't have a limit usually. So once it keeps getting escalated and escalated, I'll just go for the throat, and you know, it's not good. But luckily in this situation, we're just joshing around. You know, we're just messing with each other. I respect Brian House probably almost maybe the most in the community. Um, you know, I've been on board with him since before the Gen 1 revolution came out. I bought the Gen 1 plans, you know.
Wow.
He's an awesome dude. But
Uh,
his hair is an easy target though.
You hear that, Brian? That was a challenge, I believe. A very respectful challenge.
No. I mean, however he wants to take it, but he just got to understand that, you know, there's levels to this game, and I'm pretty good. But in all
I'm not saying
seriousness,
don't mess with me, but
though, I fucking love Brian House and the work for it, guys. If Ben Butler would return his goddamn messages, we'd be getting him on the show again, and I could send him a sticker pack. Guy messages me, we talk for like 45 minutes, and then he just ghosts me. And I'm like, what's your address? When you coming on the show? No response. I'm like, oh, come on, bro. Send me your address. We'll book you on the show. We'll get you in. Let's do this. I love Ben Butler. I think he's fucking hilarious. The one-liners he spits off are just gold. It's awesome.
I
You
love
know,
all those work for it guys. Those guys are all fantastic, and I've been a Brian fanboy for quite a while. Brian spelled correctly, um, and you know, ever since I actually I followed Brian and bought his grinder. I think I bought the grinder plans the first time, and I was in the process of building my grinder before I even knew that he had a podcast. And I had watched his videos and everything else, and for some reason, I just never knew he had a podcast. And so then I started listening to the podcast because I had bought his grinder plans. Um, so yeah, we all love Brian. I mean, you can't not like him. It's impossible.
pretty true.
right? Yeah. He treats
Unless
us
you're,
all equally, even though he's one of the big dogs.
except for some of his trolls. His trolls are hilarious, though.
Weren't they shouting out trolls on the podcast for a little while there?
They were, and then suddenly he wasn't getting as many trolls, which is a shame because it was gold content. Like the ones that were using the oh, you know what? I don't care. I can say whatever I want. This is my podcast. There was some Nazi comments that were thrown out that was pretty freaking bad. Like
About his forge doors.
yeah, it's like you people are insane. But I mean, again, it made for hilarious content, so you know, jokes on them. But yeah, I mean, there's some serious trolls out there.
See, I don't think he's posted any like controversial content recently. Like when he took the saw blades and quartered them and put them as gussets on his table or his cart or whatever, and people were losing their minds, like as if he
Oh
was
my
gonna
gosh.
fall and like, oh, you're gonna arm's gonna get chopped off or something. You know, he hasn't done something like that in a while.
Those are the people that warning labels are made for.
Right, 100%.
Yeah. That's retarded.
I actually have I have some plans in my head of like trying to create like some ridiculous content just to see if I can get some trolls. Like I've got some trolls in the past, but not in a while, and I need some good trolls to help amplify my content. So I've got this one thing that I'm going to do that I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but it's going to be ridiculous when I finally get around to doing it. It involves a large cannonball. Let's just say that I found in my shop when I moved in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. I've never held a freaking cannonball in my hands before, so I'm going to do some fun stuff with that just to try and see if I can get some trolls to come out. But the biggest trolls in like the blacksmithing, bladesmithing, whatever you want to say, are the ones that hold anvils on a sacred pedestal that cannot be touched. They are the end all
Oh
be
no.
all of being. And I saw this video, it was hilarious the other day, where this person literally chopped up an anvil and used the center of the anvil to make like a Thor's hammer. And it starts with them cutting the horn off the anvil. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch this. So I watched it, and it was a fine video, like it was pretty well done, but they turned an anvil into a Thor's hammer, and it was an antique anvil. So my first thought is I'm going straight to the comment section. I cannot wait. This is going to be glorious. The first comment was actually from Mike Jones. The
Oh
first
no.
comment was from Mike Jones trolling all of the people in the comments, and I went through and I read all of them. I mean, there were people that were like cursing him to the grave, like all these people that were so upset about this anvil that wasn't even theirs. And so I replied to Mike's comment saying, "Yeah, I just came here to drink the tears of those people," and that's when I got a really rude reply from one of those individuals, but it was worth it. I loved it. So
Mike's a savage, man. I've seen some of the comments he's left on posts online, and I'm like, damn, dude.
oh yeah,
That's a good one. He's quick too. That's what you gotta when you're like trolling or responding to trolls, or like in like a roast battle type deal. You got to be quick. You got to be quick on the draw with your head. You know what? With your brain. And Mike's he's quick witted, dude. And that's that 3 seconds that you hesitate if you can't come up with something that fast, it will make the difference whether or not you get fucking destroyed or not.
for sure. So
It
yeah,
is what it is.
if there's any listeners out there that hold anvils, particularly antique anvils, on the high pedestal that you have in your brain, I apologize. I'm with you. I just thought it was funny. Don't send me hate mail.
He's
How
gonna
is the
drop. He's gonna drop his cannonball on his anvil like it's a ball bearing. People are they'll probably lose it.
How was the face on the anvil? Was it a usable anvil?
It looked like it was a fine. I mean, all the edges were rounded off. It probably had a little bit of a dished face. Like, it probably still could have been used, but that's not what matters. What matters is that the dude had an item that belonged to him, and he did what he wanted to with it.
Yeah.
And all the haters, all the hundreds of comments that were on there, just helped to promote the video.
Right, 100%. That's the best part about trolls is your stuff will just explode if it gets that much traction from haters. Like just
Yep.
gone.
It's people like that is the reason why I won't do restorations for people.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Because they feel like you post it and they're like, oh, you destroyed the value of the knife, or which in reality is true. If you do a restoration and you're not a master at it, chances are you probably reduce the value. But whoever owns it isn't having you do it for that reason. They probably want to use it.
For sure.
I respect that. You got a old piece, and maybe it's been passed down in your family, and your great grandpa and your grandpa use it their entire lives, and it's getting rusty, beat up, whatever, and you just want it cleaned off so you can continue to use it. I don't see the problem there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
You're using it for what it's made for.
It's people who binge watch Antiques Roadshow, and they're like, you destroyed the value of that knife or axe or whatever. I made that Viking axe a few weeks back, and that was an antique hand forged axe, and I fucking ground the shit right out of it, made it into a Viking axe. Yeah, sitting over there. People offered to buy it off me. I'm like, I have no idea what I should charge for it. I'm gonna keep it.
That's cool. Yeah.
So,
the trolls and haters are the reasons why I actually had a YouTube channel back in the day. And because being what did I say? Being a neurodivergent, I run through hobbies, or historically have run through hobbies. So for a while there, I was really, really big into cigars. And so I had a full on YouTube channel, like reviewing cigars and like doing fun videos with that. And finally just got burnt out on it and switched to beer brewing and then knife making. Wait, there was one in there, but I just skipped. Anyways, if anybody wants to buy any beer brewing equipment, let me know. But the haters, the trolls, I mean, I would just get hate for like all the stupid little things. And it's like, I can't do this anymore. So I literally haven't signed into my YouTube account just because I don't care. I'm done.
Did you read the comments on that reel I posted that Joe Rogan shared?
Oh yes, those were pretty good.
They were so good.
I didn't
Oh
read
my
them.
God. I've never been called a fat gay loser so many times in my life.
Oh,
as I did in one day from him sharing that.
That's terrible.
Oh, dude. It was so good. And then like the hardcore ones would find me and then go to my post and comment on my post.
That's
on
dedicated trolling right
on
there.
my personal page, and those are the ones that I responded to and was like, "What's up?" Like one guy said something about it being gay, that I had a man's tattoo on my leg, or that I was shaving my leg to test sharp. I don't know what he was getting at, but I asked him if he wanted to come over and rub lotion on it. Like, yeah, I don't care. You're not gonna hurt my feelings, bro.
Someone said enormous L.
I had to look up what that meant because like a bunch of people said that. What an L. What an L. I'm like, what the fuck is an L? It means I'm
Like
a
a
loser.
loss? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a loser.
Freaking Zoomers and their new terminology.
I'm a loser. But guess what?
We're old now. We don't understand the new lingo.
Joe Rogan shared my reel, not yours. So who's
Yeah.
the fucking loser now, bitch?
Yeah, that's badass.
Boom, boss move.
Boom, mic drop.
Have you guys had anyone want a knife to display?
Yeah.
Like I make Damascus, like any, I shouldn't say any. If I make a Damascus knife, someone's like, "Well, I want it, but I just want to like hang it on the wall," and I'm like, "What?" Like, I get it. You think it's pretty, but dude, I want you to use it.
I made one shelf queen.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm trying to talk this one of the business agents into buying. I want to make this like a Damascus fighter with a fossilized walrus tusk handle with like Damascus guard and pommel and everything. Like he wants it for his bourbon cabinet, and he wants to display it. I'm like, well, that'd be pretty sweet. I mean, I don't know what else you're gonna do with it, but
that's the only purpose for a fighter, for a fighting knife. Nobody's actually getting in knife fights unless you live in Europe.
Like Jason Knight said, fighters are for fighting poverty. That is it.
Yes. That's what it was. I was trying to think of his quote. Making fighters are for fighting your own poverty.
Yep. Yeah, I've never had anybody tell me that they wanted a display knife, and like if you think my knives look good enough to display, that's great. I make them to use. Like I have developed everything about the way that I make my knives to make them more user friendly, not less.
The one I did that was a display was because the handle was a walking stick he used on the Appalachian Trail.
Okay, well that's understandable.
It was like a memoriam type knife to go on his mantle.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, you can't charge any less unless you're not hardening them. You know what I mean? Like you can't. It's still you're still making them a fucking knife. You can't charge less for it. So,
well, and it's not like you're not going to harden it, because after that person dies, or let's say they sell it or whatever, somebody else is going to end up with a knife and they're going to use it. You're not going to not harden it. You're not going to not make it to the same specifications that you normally would a usable knife. You're making the same thing. You're just making it prettier.
I wonder how many knives like that end up in yard sales.
Don't say that.
Sickening.
Like after a guy dies and his family has no, like I've told my wife before, if I die, you need to have somebody else come in the shop and survey what I've gotten here, because you have no idea. And she agrees. You know what I mean? She agrees.
Yeah.
But if something ever happened to one of us, like how our wives aren't going to know that our grinder's worth a couple grand, or
Oh,
the
mine will.
this she has a credit card bill.
No. My knives are completely, or my knife business is completely self-sufficient. I don't make a whole lot of money, but everything just goes right back into it. So she's very aware that my drawer of handle scales is $1,000 or so,
See that
or
I hate.
my each drawer is worth that, probably, I should say, not just the one drawer.
That's why I got into doing my own stabilizing, because it fucking hurt every time I bought handle material. Like, yeah, I know buying the shit to stabilize and cactus juice is expensive, but a couple gallons of cactus juice goes a lot farther when you're stabilizing than it does when you're buying 6 blocks at a time,
Yeah, I can see that.
See, I have about 5 stumps or logs, like 18 by 24, like these big old chunks of spalted maple. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have to pay someone to stabilize them. Should I just get this stuff to stabilize myself, or what?
Well, if you have the room and the dedication to do it, then yes. But if not, send it off to K&G.
The want and to like the drive to do it is not there. I'm not interested in learning. I'm not interested in wasting money trying to figure out how to do this. That's the only
Well,
problem.
there you go. Just fill up a flat rate box with blocks of it, and just send it off to K&G. You're gonna get the highest quality stabilization you could possibly get, and they'll dye it colors and all kinds of other stuff. So
it's true. Their process is like my process works. It's stabilized. Their process, like, I'm doing a pressure cycle at 40 psi. They're doing pressure cycles at 3,000 psi. Just because they have the equipment to do it. You know what I mean? So if you're willing to pay the money, I think it's like $10 a pound or something like that. I can't remember, but if
That's
they're
it?
the best, I don't quote me because I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure
well,
what it was like $10 a pound.
I thought about
Finished.
they have all their prices and everything listed on, and the process for sending it in and everything listed on their website. But yeah, definitely check that out. And then actually last week, Sharky was talking about the fact that their turnaround time right now is actually really fast. So they used to be 2-3 months, and he said he's getting turnaround in a month or so. So if you've got it right now would be the time to send it in.
well, one of the guys that I buy a lot of my handle material from is local, and I thought about just sending him the chunks, or like, well, not sending them obviously because they're huge, but like next time I go out his direction, just load them up and be like, here, dude, just sell what you want, scratch my back, and you can free wood it. I mean, kind of. I still want some kickback from it, but that was kind of my idea.
If you've got that connection, then that's definitely a solid way to go as well.
He's got a nice setup.
Yeah, the cool thing about stabilizing is it's not like a labor intensive process. You know what I mean? You're not like standing over your pot watching it stabilize. Like it's a
Joke's on
set
you.
it.
That's exactly what I would be doing.
It's a set it and forget it type deal. Like when mine's in the pressure cycle, I just make sure that it maintains pressure, and if like it drops a little bit overnight, I'll just add a little more air in and then go about my day.
So how big's the danger on that pressure pot? What's the danger in it like exploding, or I don't
On
know.
mine,
I don't know
not
what
very much. Yeah, I mean, mine's rated for 60 psi, and I only turn it up to 40. On K&G's at 3,000 psi, 3,000 psi will blow a hole through your building.
Yeah.
But mine's just a converted paint sprayer.
See, I don't want to get into it and then be sucked in, and because I've talked to a few people that sell handle material, and they used to make knives, and then they got into that, and they're like, forget knives, and now all they do is make handle material.
It'll suck you in for sure. I just happen to be lucky that I live in an area where there's lots and lots of nice wood. You know what I mean? And so it made sense for me to get into it because I hoard handle material anyways. And in the long run, it's actually cheaper for me to just stabilize shit myself than to buy it, $40, $50 a block at a time. Because a block don't go far. What do you get? 2 knives out of it and a couple of spacers or bolsters or, you know.
See, I don't have the access, as far as I know, to really nice wood to stabilize. And then, I mean, my shop's too small as is, so then I'm going to want a bandsaw to actually cut wood, because my bandsaw doesn't. It's made from metal, not wood. Probably just like most other knife makers have. So it's like, if I'm going to get into this, then I'm going to be knee deep in other supplies that I'm like, these aren't even like knife related. Will it save me money?
Yeah.
Sure. Is it a time thing? Absolutely.
It's
So
not always a good idea. I mean, I've got a big enough shop, but like you said with the bandsaw, that's on my list. A nice fucking large bandsaw,
a
240 volt,
wood bandsaw, yeah.
a wood bandsaw where like my buddy who processes firewood dropped me off almost a whole tree of super curly maple. He's like, "Yeah, I split the first piece and it looks like this, so I saved you the whole tree." So for me, like, it makes sense. But for a lot of guys, it doesn't.
This was a conversation I had with myself early on in my knife making career, where I started to like try and get into stabilizing, and then I quickly realized that this was a whole nother hole. It's kind of like leather making. I had that discussion with myself as well. This is a whole nother craft. This is a whole nother thing that I'm gonna have to learn and go through. Do I want to do this, or do I just bite the bullet, spend the money when I need to, and make sure that I'm putting out the best quality product that I can by buying from people who are selling quality materials and focus on what I need to be focusing on?
And
See,
it's not that simple either. Like, it seems stabilizing seems simple, but I've had so many fucking failures. Everything I stabilized for like a whole year came out fucked up. And
Wow.
like, so if your wood's not dry enough, it's not going to stabilize all the way, or the water in the core is going to push the dye and all this juice out. If your oven, when you're baking the blocks, isn't hot enough when you put it in, the cactus juice is going to boil out of the block before it hardens. You're going to get bleed out, and like there's quite a bit to it. And I invested before I knew how to do it. So then I was in it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck. I took like 6 months to a year off of it, and then I started asking questions to people who actually knew what they were doing. And like, why am I getting this result? What's causing this? And they're like, "Oh, your blocks aren't dry enough," or, "Oh, your oven needs to be like 20 degrees hotter than it needs to be when you put them in, and then you turn it down." Or, you're not pressure cycling, you're just doing like a atmosphere soak, which is when you don't do a pressure cycle, you just shut your vacuum pump off and let it sit for 2 weeks. Stuff like that.
I don't have
Anyways.
time now. See, I asked myself the same thing about leather. I like doing sheaths. It's like, because there's a guy that lives 5 minutes from me, and he said that he would make sheaths for me. He's got a price, and I was like, do I just up my prices, a little bit, because it's going to be a little more expensive than what I can do it for. But it's like, do I stop making them, or do I just continue to make them and slowly get better at it? I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to continue to do it.
I think knowing your limitations is important, and I suck at leather work. I'm so bad at it, and I hate being bad at shit, so I just don't do it anymore. I have a huge piece of leather in my shop that's like really nice, thick stuff, and it just sits there, collects dust. But we're almost at an hour and 45. What do you say we put a cap on this thing?
I think that's a good idea. I think this has been a good show.
I think so too.
Hopefully I don't feel like I interview the best, but I feel like I have better conversation than I do interviewing.
This wasn't really an interview. This was just some knife makers BSing for an hour and 45. That's okay.
Yeah. The only time we really do interviews is when it's like Jason Knight or somebody that, like, I don't know, not to say you're not important, but which you are, but you know what I mean? Like
Knight.
somebody, yeah, like,
Even with Jason Knight, it was less of an interview than it was just us bringing up topics and him bringing his unique perspective and talking. That's just all we do. We just talk.
We just let him talk. Yeah. I got a lot of feedback on that episode, and people said that he seemed the most comfortable on our show than he had on any other show that he's been on. And I said,
Ryan, you and I are comfortable people, I guess.
I guess we didn't like grill him on stuff. We're not very professional. I'm sitting here chain smoking cigarettes and blunts the whole time. We talked about fucking aliens and shit. He didn't care. Yeah, I think, he's like, yeah, this is fun. We just let him go. We were like, hey, what do you feel about interdimensional space beings?
Jeremy, what do you think about interdimensional space beings?
I ain't got time for that.
Come on.
You want to talk aliens? We'll get Elon on. All right. We'll talk to him about aliens.
I
will
wish.
pay you money if you get Elon on here.
How much?
A lot.
It's not a number.
I ain't
will
got no
give
money.
you $40 if you can get Elon.
Sold. I'll do what I can.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
At least give him
Now-
I'll at least add him.
All right.
That was a
Thanks
good
for
one.
listening, guys. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great week. Sorry, Ryan.
Bye.